The Heart of the Tree is written by Cuyler Bunner. In an age where rapid and reckless development and urbanization are taking their toll on environment, planting a tree comes as a solution. The poet starts his first line in every stanza with a question, and then he himself gives an answer to what a tree can do in our lives. The poet not only appreciates the aesthetic value but also the role of a tree, its importance in the welfare of human being. He has called it a friend of a sun and sky. He says that trees contribute positivity. They play a role in the growth of natural resources of a nation. The title itself suggests the quality of the trees. And we start with this line. What does he plant who plants a tree? He plants a friend of sun and sky. He plants the flag of breezes free, the shaft of beauty towering high. He plants a home to heaven and I, for song and mother croon of bird. In hushed and happy twilight heard, the treble of the heaven harmony, these things he plants who plants a tree. This is the first stanza in which he says, what does he plant who plant a tree? It is not just the tree that is being planted. It is also an expectation of the planter. That what does he expect when the tree will grow up? When the tree will grow up, every tree grows towards the direction of the sun. It grows in a height. It grows towards the sun. So he says that this plant which will grow is actually a friend of sun and sky because it is going in that direction. Now, when he says a friend of sun and sky, he is actually giving a title to the tree. Whenever we give a title to something, it is a figure of speech which is known as metonymy. So, the first line where he says a friend of sun and sky, we have a metonymy. Then he says he plants a flag of breezes free. Now, whenever the breeze flow, the leaves of the tree flutter. They move like a flag and give us a breeze. So he says a flag of breezes free. Again he is giving a title to the tree. Again he is using a metaphor and a metonymy. The shaft of beauty towering high. Now whenever a plant is grown, it grows to a certain height, it looks very beautiful, it has an aesthetic value. So it not only gives us a shade, it is not a shaft for us to stand underneath, but it is also beautiful. So it is a shaft of beauty. It is a shade which gives us aesthetic beauty and is helpful to us. Towering high. Now every plant grows to a certain height. It is towering. And the moment it grows up and up, it looks like a tower. He plants a home to heaven and I, for song and mother croon of bird, in hushed and happy twilight heard. Now every plant, when it grows up, it may become a abode to many of the birds. Many birds come and make their nests on that. And in the nest, the mother bird will come in the evening. She'll be chirping to her kids, chirping to her birdies. Now, that song which is heard in the evening time is always soothing. It gives a sort of a soothing atmosphere to us. In this cacophonic atmosphere where all the tensions are there, the evening time is the time to relax, to soothe. It is a sort of a solace a man gets when he reaches home in the evening. Now this bird is also singing for its birdies. And the poet feels that it brings a universal equilibrium and the whole world is pacified by that song. It is a peaceful atmosphere which is being built up by the bird And why it is being built up by the bird? Because it is in the nest which is in the tree, and the tree was possible because a planter has planted a tree. In hushed and happy twilight heard. What is the twilight time? The evening time. So this time is happy and hushed voice, when the whole world is not making that much of noise as it was making during the afternoon time or the morning time during the working hours. It is a time to relax. So it brings a soothing effect to the human being and brings a peace and harmony in the world. The treble heaven's harmony, these things he plants who plants a tree. Now home is a sort of a heaven for every being. Whosoever is there, we feel that a home is just like a heaven. Now by planting this tree, a heaven has been provided to all the birds which make the nest in that particular tree. It is just like a heaven. So he says heaven anigh. That means scoring a new height which is just like a heaven. These things he plants who plants a tree is a sort of an answer which he has given to the question he has asked first. Now whenever we have a repetition of lines, earlier I think I had taught you all that it is refrain. But refrain is when the line is being repeated after a stanza. But if the line is repeated in the beginning of every stanza, like he says, what does he plant to plant a tree? That is the beginning of the stanza. Then again the next stanza he starts with the same line. Then the third stanza again he starts with the same line. Now the line which is repeated in the beginning of the stanza is called antipophora or hypophora. Now what is the spelling of antipophora? ANTIPOPHORA. Antipophora. It is also known as hypophora. HYPOPHORA. Now in this particular stanza we have learned two figures of speech. First is metonymy and the second is antipophora. Now I am giving the explanation of the second stanza of the poem. What does he plant who plant a tree? He plants cool shade and tender rain. Now again he is asking a question and then he is giving a reply to it. Now whenever he asks a question, he actually arouses a curiosity in the readers that if he is asking a question, what should be the answer? Then he says he plants cool shade and tender rain. Now in your science you might have studied about the process of the water transpiration and then how the water cycle is built up, that the trees cool the atmosphere, then the vapors are built up, then the vapors cool down and they cause the rain. So he says everything in this process happens because a planter has planted a tree. Now if he plants a tree, he is not only giving us a cool shade, but is also completing the process of transpiration and water cycle and is providing us a tender rain. And every plant naturally comes with a fruit. The fruit has a seed. If the seed is sown again, then a seed and bud of days to be. Then we not only plant a fruit, we also are sure that the seed will come, again a tree will be planted, again it will have buds, again the things will be repeated and the progeny of that tree will continue. And seed and buds of days to be. Then we are not only planting a tree, we are also planting a future of many seeds and buds which will bloom later on. And years that fade and flush again. Now everything comes to an end. Everything that is born is natural. It is inevitable that the death will come. So the thing which is born reaches to its death. Everything that is old has to wither and fade away so that it gives a room to the fresh ones. Every time you might have seen in this tree that the autumn comes, the leaves shed down, they are all dried up, and when the rains come, again the tree blooms up. So when it is fading, it is the death. When it is blooming, it is a rebirth. So this line actually proclaims the birth, death, and again rebirth. We are not only ending it there, it is only with human beings that we are born, we die, and we are not reborn. But what happens to the tree? A tree, every season it reaches its age, the leaves wither out, and again it blooms afresh in the new season. So he says, and years that fade and flush again. With the age, the trees fade out, and then again when the season comes, they bloom up again. So it is a sort of a old withers away to give a room to the fresh ones or the new spring to come up. Even in our school, we see that the cabinet gives authority to the next cabinet, hands over the responsibility to the new cabinet. In the same way, it is happening with the tree, that the old leaves fall out, and with the fresh weather and the fresh season, again the tree blooms up and new fruits are born, new leaves come up. Again, it is a fresh spring which comes up on the tree. He plants the glory of the plain. Now, when a tree is planted, it is not only for that particular person. A person cannot plant a tree and say his neighbors, no, you cannot have air or oxygen from this tree. If a tree is planted, it will naturally give the breeze to everyone in the neighborhood. The fruits will be for everyone in the neighborhood. The shade will be for anyone who comes and stands underneath. And it will cool the atmosphere of that place. So it is a glory of that plain. The plain or that particular area should be proud of that tree, that it is giving so much to that particular area. And if all the seeds of the tree, that is all the seeds of all the fruits it has borne, are put in the soil again, are replanted, again we will have so many trees. If all the seeds are planted and the trees come up, it will naturally result in a dense forest. If there is a dense forest, the whole atmosphere of that area will be clean. It will be a sort of a natural resource to that place. So here, not only planting a tree, we are also planting the natural resource of a nation. It is a growth in the economy of that nation. So he says, he plants a forest heritage. So if all the seeds are planted, it becomes a forest, it becomes a heritage, it becomes a natural resource of that particular country. So it becomes a heritage of that country. The harvest of the coming age. Now, it is a harvest which will be reaped. A crop is sown, it will be reaped. So a harvest which will be reaped will be for the future age. A person who is planting it may not have the fruits for himself only. It will also be for the future generation to come. So he is planting a future for the generation which is yet to come, which is unborn. The joy that unborn eyes shall see. If I see a tree today and I plant another tree, or I sow a seed and I die, the plant will still be coming. The next generation will still see it. Will the beauty be less? No. Will the joy be less? No. It will be the same. So all the generations which are yet to come will also be able to see the tree, will also be able to enjoy the beauty of it, the quality of it. Still the transpiration will go on, still the water cycle will be completed, still there will be rain, still all the qualities the tree is, or the benefits we are gaining from the tree today will be gained by the next generation. So it is not only for this generation, we are also planting a tree for the future generation. It is a natural resource of a nation. It is growth for the economy of a nation. And all the joy which we are enjoying today will also be trespassing to, or will be passed forward to the next generation. The joy that unborn boy eyes shall see. Unborn means the future generation which is not yet born, which will be born, which will be able to see all that. These things he plants who plants a tree. Again, he ends the stanza with the same answer. The ending line is refrain and the beginning line is antipophora. In the starting, we have antipophora. In the end, we have refrain. Again, in this particular stanza, we have some metonymies like cool shade and tender rain. Then, glory of the plain. Then, the forest heritage. Then, harvest of the coming age. And then, unborn eyes is a metaphor, it is not a metonymy. Clear? Now, when we talk of all these, we also get a sort of a visual imagery that a tree is there, it is looking beautiful, and if all the seeds are planted again, we will have a sort of a forest grow up, and this forest will be seen by the future generation, and it will also be gaining the same benefits of the tree as the first one. In the third and the final stanza, he again begins with the same question, what does he plant who plant a tree? Then he answers, he plants in sap and leaf and wood, in love of home and loyalty, and far-cast thought of civic good, his blessings on the neighborhood, who in the hollow of his hand holds all the growth of our land. A nation's growth from sea to sea stirs in his heart who plants a tree. He actually says that every tree, whichever tree it may be, small or big or plant or shrub or whatever, it always has wood, sap and leaves, even in the modified stems and leaves and variety of it. Now, what does the wood do? Wood is the cost for the furniture and all that. It adds to the economy. Now, sap also has medicinal values. Some of the leaves are also used as medicines. And then, many of the time, leaves are also used as medicines. Now, he says that all the plants which have the wood, which have the leaf, which have the sap, are actually responsible for all the flowers, fruits, seeds, food, and everything on which our survival depends. So actually he is wanting to say that we depend on the trees for our survival. Initially they were giving us oxygen, then it talked of the water cycle which was also dependent on the trees. Now he is talking about the food, the fruits and the medicine which we get from the plants, which are the basics we require for our survival. Now he says the person who actually plants a tree is very loyal to his home, to his nation, to his society. And he loves the home, he loves the people, he loves his family, he loves the entire universe, and that is the reason he plants a tree. And there is a forecast thought. Now what is the forecast thought? That is his foresight, his vision of the future, his concern for the earth and the society which is yet to become, which is yet to be born. And he is doing a civic good. He is doing a good to the society. He is concerned for the society that he is planting a tree. Now forecast means foresee or the foresight, and thought of civic good means his concern for the earth, society and the universe at large. Now earlier also I had told that if a person plants a tree, he does not get the benefits only for himself. He cannot confine all the oxygen a tree gives only to himself and say his neighbors that no, whatever oxygen is been given by this tree, I'll only have it and you cannot have it. It cannot be. If a tree is planted, it will give the oxygen, it will emit the oxygen, it will inhale the carbon dioxide, and it will benefit everyone who is nearby. And if all the seeds of a plant are replanted, the forest will grow, and the forest, and the forest. So in at large, that whole human beings which are near to that tree are benefited by it. So it is a sort of a blessing to the neighborhood. The plant provides both food, wood, shelter, and so it is the blessing to the neighborhood. Who in the hollow of his hand holds all the growth of all our land. Now here he is comparing the planter to Jesus Christ. It is a sort of an illusion. Whenever we see the pictures of Jesus Christ, we see that in his hand he is holding either a sheep or a lamb or a small child, which is symbolic that he is careful of all the creation he has created. Even when we pray, we say, hold us in the hollow of your hand, give us protection. So when we are seeking the blessings of God, we are asking him to protect us in the hollow of his hand. Now when we join the two hands, there is a hollow which is created. And even when we hold a sapling in our hand, it is in the hollow of our hand. So the planter is being compared to Lord Jesus, that he is also taking care of all his creations, and all the creatures are being safeguarded in the hollow of his hand. So when the sapling is taken in the hands and planted, it is actually holding all the humanity or the progress of the mankind, the future of the mankind in his hand. He is assuring that everything will be taken care of. It actually is responsible for the nation's growth, its economy, its natural resource, and everything is responsible only on planting of the tree. Our land will become barren if all the trees are cut, and it won't be possible for the universe to survive without trees. Now, if we see, we have lesser of land and we have more of the water. 70% of this planet is covered by water. So he says that if a nation's growth is taken into consideration, it is from one sea to the other that we are talking about environment, and it is being taken care only of if the trees are planted. So when a person plants a tree, he is concerned about the whole humanity, the whole sphere of human life. And that is the thought which is ringing in his mind or stirring in his heart. See the last line. Stirs in his heart who plants a tree, is actually concerned about the whole humanity. It is a thought which stirs in his heart when a planter plants a tree.